Yeah.
Will you text her and ask her if she printed it? Let me leave it right here. Let me leave it right here.
No.
Sure.
I'm sure.
Hey, I felt so bad. Brad tagged me in something and I didn't see it for like a week later.
He doesn't get it.
Okay, good. I didn't even think I was ignoring.
So is this new or is this just?
No, so it didn't make it into claims because the FAA just kind of blessed off on it today,
Okay.
about 3 o'clock.
Hey, is there, at the rec center, is there like a gathering space, like? You can have a reception?
Yeah.
Okay, graduation reception?
I think Jessica's using it this week. So it's the big classroom.
Okay. I was just gonna do graduation.
Yeah.
It's golf courses. Like for a dining car.
I'm like,
If you want my blanket, Jess, you can use it.
I don't know why it's blowing. It goes from blowing hot to blowing cold, and now it's straight cold.
Trying to figure out. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Because I went to that one meeting. So that's a sharp. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you two.
we can't, you're okay. I mean,
Yeah, we tried to not have whichever one of them printed the check, sign the check. So the stuff that Angela prints, she signs, and vice versa. But Mr. Mayor, it is. He's not on council yet.
Okay, we will call the regular council meeting to order for January the 10th. We have a few things to get through as far as the consent agenda, petitions and delegations, and unfinished business, and we'll have change over, but we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have this many people here, usually it's not a good thing.
Right.
Okay, we'll get right into it. First thing on the agenda this evening is the consent agenda, which consists of January 2022 airport advisory minutes, the November and December 2021 governing body minutes, and claim ordinance 801-1221.
And Mr. Mayor, the only addition to the claim ordinance is pay app number 8 from Cost Construction. So it was quite large. So the FAA asked for supporting documentation from Benish to ensure that progress was being met as it was being billed. And after talking to the FAA today, they had a warm and fuzzy about the status of the construction and the amount of funds that have been expensed. So we're comfortable paying this 1.5 million for the airport now. We just didn't get it in last week because we didn't get the thumbs up.
And just so everyone here knows as well, so it was not included in the checks and the claims that I had already signed today. But since Mr. Finnegan won't be on the checking accounts yet, probably what we'll do, cut the check tomorrow, and then city clerk, city administrator, and city treasurer will sign that, and then have the new mayor sign the claim ordinance. So I have to aware of that.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, including the accounts receivable reports, the minutes from previous meetings, the airport advisory minutes, and also the addition of the payment cost construction. Has been mentioned for 1.5 million and change. Mayor, Laura.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Motion was made by Mr. Majette, seconded by Mr. Scritchfield, to approve the consent agenda consisting of the January 2022 minutes and airport advisory minutes, November and December 21 governing body minutes, and claim ordinance 801-1221, noting the additional pay order to cost construction. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Petitions and delegations. Mr. Bush, did you have something for us this evening?
Yes. I live on the southeast corner of town, and there is a Jake Break sign that is right south of the 2nd Street overpass. And I would like to see if the city would move that down south of the river someplace. Trucks coming down off the hill south of town really get with it, and they get by our place, they use the Jake Break. And it is loud, especially in the summertime. We have the windows open and you're talking to somebody, you have to stop because you can't understand each other. And also, it might help to move the speed limit down there too with that. And if you could put a sign on the off ramp going down to the low road, but they use the Jake brakes there too.
Yeah, I know. Talked to the city attorney, and since the Jake Break sign is ours, and since it's our ordinance, but there might be some stipulation as far as from the state of Kansas Department of Transportation as to where that sign can go. But to your point, if they let us go back towards the river, then they shouldn't be on the Jake Break as they exit off the highway. I mean, because at that point, they're into the Jake Breaking zone. But I don't know that we would have any control over speed limit. I don't think we can make any requests or if they're valid. But I don't know about, I know that we have had some other people complain before to us about the Jake Break, specifically on the north side of town, that when they're coming in on 14, that they just flat out don't even turn off their Jake Break. So it's pretty loud up there sometimes too, but I don't know. Do you think there's any?
I mean, I'm gonna call or email
Carlton
tomorrow.
Okay.
And yeah, if it's our sign, then we can move it. If he tells me no, I'm sure KDOT has a form or 3. So, but I will inquire about if we can move the speed limit sign and then what we need to do to move the Jake Break sign.
I talked to Carlton, it's been several months ago, and he said, that's not the state sign, that's the city sign, the Jake Break sign.
Yeah, so that one probably shouldn't be a problem to move. They'll probably have some guidelines as to how it needs to be moved, I guess, but I don't know the speed limit is any would be any of our control, but we can inquire. Or for us to inquire.
Might give them a reminder sign by my house because it's loud there too. When they do it.
You didn't notice earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Laura?
No, not right now.
Any other petitions or delegations this evening? Ms. Schreiner, do you have anything?
Thank you for showing, for coming out and running the road right over our street the other day when it snowed.
Good. At least there wasn't a lot of moisture in the snow. so-
No, there wasn't, but anyway, thank you.
Okay, I don't have any other petitions out there, I don't think. We'll move on to unfinished business. First thing, item A, Kirk and Michael updates. Mr. Hodderwaters.
I'm not used to having to sit in the back row. I'm happy to walk up here. I just got a couple projects that are active right now. I'll touch upon, of course, the one that's in full view of everybody is the detention basins. They're on the north side of town. The contractor sounded like he had some equipment breakdowns that he was working on today, but he's going to be working towards completion. Optimistic that he will get substantially complete by the end of the month with the excavation and installation of all the pipes and rock riprap that goes into the project. We'll see as far as the final seeding and erosion control, if he can get that, he being a sub, actually a subcontractor doing that part, but if that'll all be done by the end of the month or early February. The things are moving forward and we look forward to seeing that toward to completion in the near future. The K156 and K140 turn lanes. At the last meeting, I discussed that project. The city council did reject the bid from APAC. That was substantially over the estimate and budget for the project. Kirk and Michael is working on revising the plans to eliminate the 1.5-inch asphalt overlay from that project. And depending on bids, we hope that that will reduce the cost by roughly $100,000. And KDOT said they must rebid the project by May to keep it in the fiscal year for the funding. So we're working on getting those plans revised and turned back to KDOT by the first part of February. We did submit a supplemental services request for that, for revising the plans. We ended up coming up with a cost of $8,065.11 before I said it might be as much as $10,000 for the engineering design work to do that. So we're working on getting that completed as soon as possible. And the neighborhood multi-use path, again, we're working on revising the plans for that project with the revised alignment and with the city council's desire to take out the loop on that project and get those plans turned in as soon as possible. The final item was the cost share project for the sidewalk improvements. We've been working with Security First Title on how they would like their sidewalk to look and the ramps in front of their facility. We've got clear direction from them. And so we can work on finalizing those plans. I don't have a solid date to have those plans done yet. We're looking at early part of this year, like first quarter, so we can get it constructed this summer. Does anybody have any questions?
How many working days do they have left there at the detention basin? Did I miss that in there?
They have 16 left as of last week.
Okay.
So I think today being a working day, we're probably 15 after today, if I got my numbers right. So average 5 days a week, so about 3 weeks left, and they're out of days. So hopefully he'll be done about the same time. We're all looking forward to that.
Questions for John? John, thanks for always providing these updates. Appreciate it.
Very well.
I think it was a good thing that we started. So,
There's a lot of things going on, so yes, it's easy to get it all swirled in the mix and crossed out. So appreciate that. We'll keep coming back.
all right, thank you.
All right, thank you much.
Moving on to the next item of unfinished business, the airport hangar concrete bids. This is carryover from a couple of meetings ago.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Council, this is the, it took a while to get the second bid, but we finally got it in. You can see it's substantially more than the first bid, $14,000 more. So two things on this. One is this, the funding for this comes from the new infrastructure bill, the $1.4 trillion that was passed by Congress. Ellsworth Airport received $159,000 that has to be used at the airport. So the this $19,000 that we recommend council accepting will come from that and not from a budgeted expense or from any local tax dollars for the from the general fund. So we've only got two real projects that are targeted for that money. One is the AWAS that we've discussed on that link before, and then this. So I can try to answer any questions that you have about it, but it's the hangar directly south of the gazebo that they'll put the concrete floor in. And once again, so we would ask for approval, but then this project's not going to proceed until we get the money into the account, which hasn't arrived yet.
In looking at these two, one of the things that I've learned in the past number of years is that, you know, typically if you have two bids that are way far apart, it's not exactly apples to apples. It looked like it was to me. Anybody else see it differently? It looked all the same. They were bidding the same.
Yeah. Another thing, going with the Kyler's, we got to get on his calendar. So if we get on his calendar now, we might get it done by the summer. So remember last September, he said he couldn't do any more projects for the city in 2021. So that's kind of how far out he's booked.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we award the bid to Concrete Airport Hangar, amount not to exceed $20,000 for Kyler. So,
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Scritchfield, seconded by Mrs. Hanson to approve the bid from Kyler and Son, an amount not to exceed $20,000 for concrete at the Ellsworth Airport hangar. Any discussion on the bid? Discussion on the motion, I should say. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, and the last item, item C, Ellsworth Health and Recreation Center renovation phase 3.
All right, so Mr. Mayor, Council, this one's a little trickier because I didn't intend on spending any more money right now at the rec center, but we have the opportunity to close out a project, which we have sometimes not exactly stuck the landing on finishing some of our projects around town on. So we'll wander back to whenever it was around the time that we bonded the 2019 temp note, and you guys reallocated the funds out of that temp note, and there was a $60,000 allotment to wire the new city shed, new city shop on Gay Street. So you guys authorized $60,000. After we looked at it, it didn't need nearly as extravagant wiring as we thought, and we got it down to about $12,000, which left $48,000 in the temp note that was unallocated. Now we have two kind of major uses for that money. Last meeting, we discussed the issues downtown with the electrical. So we can take that money and put toward attempting to rewire downtown. The problem with doing that is, after discussion, we're concerned that once we get into that project, it's going to be a much bigger project than what we think. And then we will wind up busting sidewalks, and we have to bust pavement. And if we're going to bust pavement, we ought to wait until 23 when we're going to tear up the road anyway. And then we've had one electrician say, well, your conduit is fine, you just need bigger wire, and I think it'll fit. Another saying, yeah, I think you got to redo the whole thing. So we're not even sure exactly the extent of what the downtown wiring project would encompass. So we feel that a better use of that money would be to go to buy the equipment that was in the memo, in addition to the flooring in the fitness room and something else. And it's just, I just drew a blank. There's 3 things at the rec center that would finish up phase 3. Now, fortunately for us, a lot of the stuff that we having that used to be in phase 3, we were able to accomplish in phase 2 with the money that you already allocated. So, sorry, it's going to bug me if I don't remember the third. It was small. Oh, excuse me, the appliances in the kitchen. That was it. So the stove and refrigerator. Ronnie, are those the only 2 appliances? The stove and the refrigerator for the kitchen and the microwave. So I mean that's only a couple $1,000s. The floor for the fitness room is about $11,000. We looked at putting the luxury vinyl plank, but with the usage that we anticipate, we thought that we'd have to replace that pretty quickly. Brittany uses it for tap, and that stuff's probably not conducive to tap. And then the other fitness classes that people have approached us about doing in there will require some weights, and I'm worried about dropping weights on that vinyl plank. So the hardwood that Mr. Weber recommended seemed to be a more expensive but more fitting long-term solution in there. And then you see the list of equipment that Ronnie has come up with that he needs or would like to have to completely outfit the rec center. So after this, we would still have about $8,500 that would remain unallocated, but nothing that we would anticipate using at the rec center or on any other glaring current project that we might have.
This would completely wrap up the rec center project.
Yes. You concur?
Painting all get done inside?
Not yet. It's part of it's primed. So Mr. DeBravo's crew went through and kind of did the tuck pointing to kind of fix some masonry problems we had, and there's some electrical that had to be moved. But I have been out there this week. I know last week it was about a quarter of the building was primed. I know that he did some work this weekend. But we expect the floor, which very generously Horse Rider paid for the floor in the main room. And they also made a $30,000 donation last year for some additional things out there. So between the county, the money the county gave us, and Horse Rider, and the money that you guys allocated, we by the first of next month, it will look like a completely different facility, and it's I'm pretty proud of it. So.
So the first line, the flooring beds, that's for the gym, the gym floor, is that what that is?
I'm sorry. Oh, yes. No, that's for the main room. And it's the rubberized flooring, kind of multi-use.
So, yeah,
Is it?
It'll be all right for each activity.
Yeah. Some flooring, like if some things are in there, we might have to put some floor covering down. So,
Ralph was telling me it's the same flooring that they have at the ice skating rink in Wichita. And he made a observation that he saw a lot of those blades from the ice skates on that flooring, and it didn't seem to damage it.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve phase 3 of the rec center project and amount not to exceed $40,000.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Bernard, seconded by Ms. Coates to approve phase 3 of the rec project, with the funds being reallocated to the presented expenditures. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Takes care of unfinished business, doesn't it?
It takes care of it.
There's
Mr. Mayor.
nothing going on to another meeting?
Oh,
No. All right, well, we will pause for a second. Just a couple of things for me, I'd like to thank three groups of people. First and foremost, governing body, whether it's this body or previous city council people, previous mayors. For me, it's been a pleasure to work with everybody. Been a pleasure for me to learn from everybody and to collaborate and hopefully do what we can do to make this city better. So I look back 9 years ago and I think we've done a pretty good job enhancing some of the things that we have. So second is all the city staff, current and former staff. I never felt like there was a time where I couldn't go to them with anything, they couldn't come to me with anything. I hope that's the way they feel at least. But it's been a pleasure to work with them. 2 years ago, we were in kind of a period of transition, and I think all of us really, at that time, kind of stuck together, and we did pretty good things without the city administrator. We didn't really know quite what we were doing. So I appreciate everybody there. And then finally, our citizens. 9 years ago, a guy right out of college, they probably didn't think I didn't know what I was doing. They probably didn't think I knew what I was doing either, but everyone worked with me. It's been a pleasure. And so I know we've got a lot of good things on the horizon for our city. I know Aaron and Dane are going to do good things. So good luck, guys. I'm sure you'll do a great job. With that, I will leave.
not quite, but yeah, go ahead.
But
So-
Steve, I don't know if you have anything.
No, just echo your comments. Thank citizens of Ellsworth for providing the support that us and the city employees needed to do their job and to get things done and try to some of the things that we accomplished in the 7 years that I've been on the city council. Appreciate the employees of the city.
All right. Well, we have a little token of our appreciation, so I'll let you direct that. So I'm just gonna move it. So. We'll be there first.
Yep. It works.
You get to me first.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
Yes, my brother Terry, my dad, Tim, daughter Willa, or you know, we know.
We have.
Yes.
All right, well, have fun, guys. Yeah.
All right, now, we need Mr. Finnegan and Mr. Johnson, goodness. So, I'm not off to a good start to come up, and the clerk will administer the, do we have to redo Tyler? Okay. Dan, can you stand over here so they can see you? And Brittany can stand in front of you. You just right there, it's fine. That's
Wait,
good.
right here?
Yeah, that's good.
Each of you separately.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to go ahead?
Want me to go first?
Go first. Okay. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution
of the United States, of the Constitution
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties of mayor,
the duties of mayor,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Raise your hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the
of
Constitution
the
of
State of Kansas,
the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully
the
discharge
duties of governing body member,
the duties of governing body member,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right. Take your seat there, Councilman. That's a requirement to be mayor. You got to be able to put the thing back there.
Yeah, this kind of stuff. The new,
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
That works.
Beautiful.
There
Get it started.
Okay.
Everybody hear me okay?
Cut your mic on, Mr. Mayor.
Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay. Is this seat over?
This
This is it? Okay.
Do you need my blanket to sit on?
Well, it's been a long time coming. We really appreciate my family being here and becoming mayor of Ellsworth is a true honor. I appreciate the citizens, the people that supported me, several in the room. And, I just want to say a few words, let a few other people say a few things, and then we'll just get started. We'll go right down the agenda. We'll wrap this up as soon as we can. Tyler, would you like to say a few words?
I think it'll be a great year.
Good deal. I know that he also won his seat. So,
I ran unopposed.
right. Still. You didn't have But you didn't have to. Do that. That's right. I wanted to point that out. So very good. Aaron, what about yourself?
I just look forward to working with everybody and being open to helping the community grow.
Very good. We talked right after the election, had a nice conversation. He went through why he ran. It was really inspiring. So I appreciate that. Want to talk about 3 different things before we get started, and then we'll just go right down the list. But one will have to wait. You're gonna have to do a little bit of work, a little bit of background, talk to Rusty about it. We'll talk about opportunity. I think there's a little bit of background that's going to be needed before I kind of talk more in general about that. I want to talk about victory. That's another word I think is important. And as much as I wanted to become mayor, I think making my family proud is probably as good or a greater victory. And just to see their look on their face and how much support they've given me really meant a lot. And it's going to be hard to compete with that. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody. I think that you can look out there and there they are. And it's not something we planned. It's just an opportunity came along and decided to pursue it. And here we are today. So I really appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much. Then the other victory. Ever since I came to Kansas, all I've heard is we need to grow, we need to grow, we need to grow. It's like from the very second I came here, building the population was a critical thing to a thriving community. So, I responded and we moved here. And, so having a new guy, in this position says a lot about Ellsworth. I think it's basically one of your successes is that you invited somebody, they followed through, and then they are sitting here 2 years later, a little bit over 2 years later as the mayor. So I think that says a lot about Ellsworth, even more than it says a lot about anybody else, that this could happen here. And then I'm going to tie that back into talking about opportunities. So those two victories, I think, are key to point out. So don't know if I'll share a funny story with you, but I may wait till the next meeting just because we have such a long meeting. But we'll go ahead and get started here. So the next item on the agenda would be the opioid settlement, MOU and resolution.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, council, so far, 2 drug companies have settled opioids cases. The state of Kansas is going to get a, I don't remember the exact amount, but it's a pretty substantial amount, with 25% of it going down to the cities. We don't have a determined amount just yet of how much the city of Ellsworth is going to get. But in order to claim this, we have to pass this MOU and resolution 22-010. City attorney, if you want to, do you have any context for them about the settlement?
Not much more than what Rusty already offered. They won't know how much every single city gets until it's all kind of gets hashed out. This is just a requirement. It's a standard resolution the Attorney General's office gave to all the cities that they're requiring us to pass to be eligible for it. So there'll be, whatever funds come through this will be a line item, not the general fund, but we'll have to go towards some sort of opioid remediation program. So we'll have to find probably something that will match with other efforts in the county to find things like this. Yeah.
And I believe there's another 3 companies that they're litigating. So we would see potential for another settlement as well, but this is one in front of us. We need adoption of.
So that said, is there a motion to go ahead and approve the opioid settlement MOU and resolution?
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to adopt resolution 22-0110 and authorize the mayor to sign the MOU.
I'll second.
All right, was there any discussion over this resolution? No discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion has been approved. Next item on the agenda.
All right, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
council, we can combine these 3 into one motion. This is the budgeted funding request for the Council on Aging, which is $11,000, the Arts Council is $5,000, and the Economic Development, which is $32,500. All of those amounts were approved in the 2022 budget back in September. So this is just their formal request for their 2022 allocation.
So the opioid settlement MOU, the Ellsworth County.
No, we already approved the
Oh,
opioid, just the 3 funding requests. We can do it one time.
okay. All right. Understand. So moving on to item B.
So we're at B through D.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'm following you. So the next item on the agenda is Ellsworth County Council on Aging, the 2022 budget request.
Yes, for all 3, the Aging, the Arts Council, and the Economic Development.
We've already had the motion.
No, we haven't.
No. Okay.
We need a motion to approve the
Gotcha.
2022 funding request.
Okay. All right. So can we have a motion to approve the Ellsworth County Council on Aging 2022 funding request?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion of the Council on Aging funding request?
So, Mr. Renard, are you doing just
Yeah, I'll-
individually, or are you going to do all 3?
We'll do all.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve aging budget request, Arts Council, and the Economic Development.
I'll second all 3.
Any discussion of any of those budgets? All right, so now I'm going to ask to approve the budget. Okay.
Just say all in favor.
All
say
in
aye.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Motion
All
carries.
right, motion carries. All right, anything else on the agenda here?
That is all for new business, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Department heads, recreation,
I got nothing.
nothing?
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, Ronnie, can you come up and just kind of talk to him about what we just approved the money for the final phase, but you've added an employee and you got some new software that we're purchasing to kind of just give them a,
Yeah, with the recreation center and all its improvement, we hired Katie Cole as a part-time employee. Basically, what she'll oversee is we're gonna move a lot of the bookkeeping and everything that City Hall has taken care of. And now that'll be her responsibility. We're in the process of getting a rec software where all registration forms will be done online. We're working on new forms as far as memberships, facility rental. We'll get into that at the next meeting. You know, all that stuff will be online as well. Like the equipment was basketball goals, batting cage nets, you know, different things like that, which, I mean, hopefully the community will really jump on board with that and be able to utilize some of that stuff. The memberships will have, they'll pay for memberships. We'll give them a key fob where they can access the building. You know, at certain times, we'll probably put a limit to where or when they can get into the facility. So,
which is probably, we said like 6 a.m. to, almost said 06, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. They'd be able to come into both our facility here and the one out there using their key fob. I think we've got about a dozen of those out now, but yeah. And they can also see what's scheduled, because, you know, if I want to come in and play basketball and we have a tournament, well, of course, I'm not going to be able to get in, but all that stuff will be worked out kind of through the contact with Ronnie and Katie and the public as they sign up for these things.
We'll discuss at the next meeting, correct?
Yeah, so the reason we didn't present it today is because the overall fee schedule, which these things have to be added to, wasn't ready from a couple of the departments. So you'll have all that on the 24th.
Thank you.
any questions on?
Did you ever find anybody to set that light pole out there?
Do what?
Did you guys get anybody to set that light pole or get a pole for it?
Light pole?
Didn't one break off? out
Well,
there?
yeah, I mean, I've talked to
I didn't know.
Mark about that, and so, when I know you guys are busy, and
Yeah, I don't
kinda-
think we can even do that.
well, he was gonna check into it and get back with me, so hopefully you can.
Yeah. Might be, it's a big,
So, yeah, right.
that's all.
Okay.
Okay,
Any other
thank you.
discussion? Thank you, appreciate it. So golf course, are they represented here tonight, or
Just the police department.
police department, and street, water and sewer, fire, and police department? Chief, do you have anything?
Now, the only thing I had is, those of you that have been on the council for a while, knows too, the city authorized the sale of surplus property here a few months ago. They authorized sale to get rid of some of the old bleachers or the old benches that the rec center had cut down, and then the old apartment moped. They're currently on Purple Way as really for like this afternoon. The benches were around, I think, for $50. The moped was $150, and they're set to sell on January 24th.
Talk to them about the disaster that is the police truck.
Yeah. So those of you that are on the council know that, those that don't, I'll kind of do a little quick backstory. February of last year, we ordered a truck, ordered a Dodge. We found out in July that the Kansas Highway Patrol should be utilized to purchase these from GSA, the government purchasing agency. They didn't do the paperwork right, so we had to purchase Ford instead, which cost us additional $4,000. So we got that purchased in the end of July, and then in October, we came to you with the purchase of another Ford pickup at the same price, $28,000 and change. My gut wasn't right, something was wrong, so I followed up in the last week and did determine they again indeed did not turn in the paperwork as presented. They've assured me that they now have things in place, this will never happen again, probably because I'll never use them, but yeah, so currently we have our check sending to KHP, and they don't know what to do with it. They'd love to return it, also absolutely, they said they'd return it, which I know they will, but got a couple of plans in motion to see if they're willing to work out some sort of a deal for us on a couple of used cars, since this is their mess up again. I don't think last time it wasn't intentional, but I'm not sure how it happened to us yet again. Prices have drastically increased. The Dodge that was not available that we did purchase in the past for $24,000 is now $42,000 on there. Fords currently aren't even available. course. I have reached out to Shawnee Mission Ford in Shawnee Mission, Kansas. They have a state contract for pricing on vehicles. They're anywhere about 33 to about 36,000 on Ford. Now, the difference between that pickup and the one we were set to purchase, the one we were set to purchase from GSA was just a standard F-150, a civilian model. It wasn't anything really super fancy, which is fine for us. But the one that the Shawnee Mission sells would be the actual police. It's called, I think it's called the Enforcer F-150. It's a pursuit rated. It's an actual classified as a law enforcement vehicle. So I did compare prices through them on the standard F-150 and the Enforcer, and the Enforcer is actually cheaper to purchase on the government contract. They don't have the same pricing on the civilian models.
So best case scenario is we spend an additional $6,000 on a truck that they have more readily available and we get it sooner. Or we go through the accounting nightmare of getting the $28,000 back. And then Angela has to go back and adjust the 2021 budget to reflect that the money came back in. And then we try to expend it again in 22, which is not that we didn't budget a truck in 22. So the best case scenario is that they keep our 28 grand and we give them another $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 and they give us a truck. But given what this process has been so far, I doubt anything will be that easy. And but I appreciate the chief following up and finding and tracking this stuff down. But it has definitely been a mess, and it's not going to get a whole lot smoother until we sometime later in the year.
There's still unknown when we're getting. We're still scheduled, slated to get our early order truck from July at the end of March, but it's not even been assigned to them yet, so therefore it's not even touched the factory line. So they don't know. And then with Shawnee Mission, that they've ordered some standard vehicles to be brought into on their lot to sell to law enforcement, and they've ordered some for agencies. Those are in transit, but the ones they've ordered from a lot are just, they're in the queue.
We have one more thing for him. Anyone have any questions about the trucks? Okay, so talk to them about the 7th police officer that we're going to propose at the next meeting, like what that duty would be. And
so currently it's a 24-hour agency. We run 2-day shift and 2-night shift. We have an officer who works 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. An officer works 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. They have staggered schedules where it's just one officer on generally during their 12-hour shift, with the exception during the day. I'm out Monday through Friday. And then we also have that 6th officer position is kind of a swing shift. Like tomorrow, we have an officer on sick leave. He's covering that shift. We have another officer on sick leave Wednesday. He's covering that shift. Last week, he covered a couple of night shifts. It varies for that position. So we do that in order to guarantee somebody calls in sick, we have somebody to cover, and then hopefully to guarantee that somebody asks for a day off, we're able to provide that day off with minimal to no overtime cost. It's not a perfect world, so we still have overtime. We still an officer, that swing shift officer puts in there. They got 72 hours. They got to cover 2 shifts for somebody because they called in sick or they want to take a vacation or something to come up, and we're going to hopefully have some overtime based off of our 84-hour work schedule. Mr. Garnado has suggested that we look at adding a 7th position to help offset some of that, and then allow us for, frankly, more time off. He's fearful that we don't take quite enough time off. It is kind of a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and a bad thing that I have a bunch of staff members that don't want to take time off. And I know some of it is because they just don't want to, and some of it is because they know that, or they understand that they're inconveniencing somebody else because somebody's working their days off to cover their shift, or it's a whole gamut of things. And I know some things we talked about that would help alleviate that in the big picture. And I also think for us, this is what we really talked about, but it would also allow us, I feel, a greater opportunity to investigate some of our crimes, where every investigation does not fall to me, where if a night shift officer gets into something, then I have to go out and do the investigation during the day. This would allow us a little bit more freedom to have somebody pick up some of that slack and hopefully solve some more cases than ours.
So I've kind of shared with you before, I don't care so much about the overtime. I care about the mental health and physical health of the officers. And if you take 12 hours off today, but you got them work 24 hours next week extra, it doesn't really do much for mental health and rest. And if we could have the swing shift officer, that would be extremely helpful. We were very fortunate in 2021. We had a pretty substantial surplus in the general fund at year's end. So we'd be able to fund, if we're going to do a little more looking, and on the 24th, present you with the duty description and up to the pay scale and the expenses that we anticipate. So, but I just wanted to put it, kind of get it in there now so you're not going in cold next meeting.
Very good. How did the 17 rings, Karen brought that up back in September. Did we get that resolved or?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I was thinking of the movie like the 9 rings.
Right now, I just remember
Like,
17.
So yeah, phone issue. So we've adjusted it, and that was my misspeak on the 17 rings. Actually, it's like 17 seconds. Equal
Okay,
out to, like,
there's a big difference.
6 rings. It was just some communication. And we have changed it a little bit. So it's it no longer rings the city hall, because it used to ring the city hall first, or ring, and then transferred over to us. And that was because that position used to cover city hall at certain times in years past, which hasn't been done in multiple years due to their increased staffing. So we renewed that, so that actually gets it to us. 1 ring sooner, which isn't much, but it is a few seconds. And then we've also alleviated some of our court phone calls. We have changed our municipal court phone number to actually be the same phone number that we use for tenant-based rental assistance, because that line actually has a voicemail attached to it. Instead of trying to bring in another voicemail to our phone system, we opted just to change that number. So hopefully our lines aren't getting inundated with municipal court. If they are, it's a certain ring, and if we're not able to get it, it does go to a voicemail, so we are able to call them back. The likelihood of that being an emergent phone call is very slim. It's just somebody wants to pay a fine. And then I guess that's basically it. Those are kind of the 2 steps we've done. We did cut a little bit of time off. We're changing the phone from the city hall over, and then having municipal court phone number.
Have there been any problems since that happened, or?
We still have some instances like today. She was out of the office today due to a prior engagement, so I wasn't in the office the whole time. So it still falls to dispatch, especially after hours. And I'm sure there are times there are extended period of rings just based off what you would normally wait for somebody to answer the phone. That's just to give us enough time to answer it for one side to the other of our office, and then for it to switch in the system to roll over to dispatch. And they might be busy on the 911 call or something else, and they may go 4 or 5, even 10 rings there before they open. Once it switches over to the dispatch, the sheriff's office, it can ring an infinite number of times, because it will not disconnect them or send them to a voicemail. They will eventually pick up once they
I know that came up in September, and just was trying to follow up on that. So, but everything else is okay.
Please so.
All right. Any other questions for Chief?
When do we gotta have our dogs registered? What's the deadline?
So March 1st, February 1st. March 1st. We'll put it out on social media. I think even in years past, we put it on the water bill, just a reminder to you down there. So, yeah, I believe it's I'm not kind of changed it to like after the first Monday in March, but March 1st may fall on Saturday. And it's gonna, after that, by 5 o'clock, that first Monday, after that, you can be assessed a fee prior to that. So, late fee.
That's good information. Any other questions for Chief? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney, Melissa, Patrick.
I can't think of anything except for one thing I thought of. I think both of you people know Melissa Miller with the city assistant city attorney. So, and then I think the existing council, I don't think we need to retrain on coma report. We talked about that a lot, but the new Aaron and Dan, if you'd like to talk briefly sometime outside of the council meeting, I'll just give you some basic overviews of Kansas open records and open meetings, so that if we get into something that you'll be prepped. Now, anything else, unless there's a question for me?
You would have a question for Patrick and Melissa? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. City Clerk, Brittany, you have anything?
Have anything to
You
say?
don't? Okay. City Administrator, Mr. Barlow.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would request a 5-minute executive session to discuss performance of non-elected personnel, to include the city attorney and myself, the governing body.
Very good. And we'll do that once we're done with the meeting, regular meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Coates? No? Mr. Johnson? Not tonight, okay, I like it. Mr. Scritchfield?
I just want to welcome you to the mix.
Thank you, thank you.
We'll do great things.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to being challenged by all of you and vice versa, so.
We'll see how long Peyton's bar stays closed on Monday.
Yeah, if we didn't get ABC, we were heading over there, I was gonna call them, but we can get it figured out. It's the game tonight's on ESPN. So, Mr. Bernard.
I just love that speaker over there. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Oh, Franklin?
My wife has texted me 15 times.
That's all I have.
Very good. Ms. Hanson?
Actually, I have a question for Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do about habitual, like people that park on these emergency, like snow removal? Do they get fined? Do they get,
In the snow route,
yeah,
well, based off, based on what ordinance says and what our general practice has been, we thankfully have not taken the final step, but in the event that a snow emergency is proclaimed, which we have not done one yet, to my knowledge, generally I am contacted by the street department that says, hey, we're doing a snow emergency. We push it out on Facebook, and at that point, individuals are given X number amount of time to move their vehicle. We base that time off of the projected snowfall when it's supposed to arrive. So let's say they don't move, we get the snow, then generally the street department, we'll try to attempt to contact them as they are there. If that does not work, they will call us, we'll confirm the tag number with the house, make sure we're going to the right place. And if we're unable to get it moved by then it's kind of a coin toss. The ordinance allows us to tow that vehicle at the owner's expense at that point, or we can leave it be. To this point, we have yet to tow a vehicle. We've had pretty good compliance, people just moving them when they are notified of a snow emergency and we need to move them. And then in the ones that haven't, we've had pretty good compliance with getting them moved. To my knowledge, in the 5 years I've been here, I think we've only had one person that's like, yeah, I'm not moving it, do it if you want to. And we chose, you know what, there's nothing around it, it's not, both sides of the streets. Just let it be for that. So that was probably my first year here. But long story short, we give them the opportunity to come up trees and move it. If they don't, we have the option to tow it there.
okay. That's
Very
it.
good. All right, I think it comes down to myself.
Yep.
All right, so quick story, I think we're ready to tell it. So this is, you never know in life, okay? So when I was 19 years old, I was in service and I received orders to go to the Philippines. That's where I was stationed. So the military in their judgment will either let you fly or drive. Never let 19 to 22-year-olds drive across country, give them 7 days. You don't want to do it. So we left my dad's house, and Tim and Terry may remember this, that Joe Hendricks was with me. So we drove across from Knoxville, Tennessee. We were headed to Whidbey Island, Washington, for a fly out, and got to Kansas. I was pretty tired. Joe had already fallen asleep. He was in the back seat. He had a 76 Buick, and outside of Salina, Kansas, all of a sudden I saw some blue lights. I thought there was nobody on the road. No one coming this direction, no one going that direction. It was in April. Got pulled over, got a speeding ticket. I'm thinking there's nobody on the road. I don't even know what the speed limit is. I was mad. I didn't have any shoes on. I was tired. I've been driving all day. So I forgot about it, forgot about the ticket, made my way to the new country and started doing my job. And lo and behold, about 6 weeks later, someone came to my locker and they said, hey, Petty Officer Finnegan, we got a call from the state of Kansas. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, you got a speeding ticket. And then I was like, so? And they're like, well, aren't you going to pay? And I said, no, I'm never going back to that state again. I'm never going back to that again. 3 weeks later, a higher ranking officer comes in and said, you've got another call from that state. You need to pay that ticket. And I wanted to make a good impression on him. And I said, well, think about it. But I said, there are other interstates. I don't need to go back there again. And he goes, legally, this is what's going to happen if you ever go back to that state. So I'm never going back there again. No reason. There are interstates above it and below it. I'll just go around it, And but something inside me said, you know what? Just do the right thing and pay the ticket. It wasn't much, but I went ahead and paid the ticket. And I went looking for that officer, and I couldn't find it, chief, so if you could help me, I can tell you the month. And this is, I do want to run them down and say, you know, I appreciate that you taught me something. And I bet you, you know, it'd be a good moment, but I honestly, that's the way 19-year-olds think, you know, they're like, I'm not gonna pay it, it wasn't fair. So that was my rationale. I felt like there's nobody on the road, there's no reason to do that. So you just never know in life. So and here we are, you know, one county away, and here I am today. So you just don't know. So that's kind of a neat story, but I want to share that with you. So with that said, can I have a motion to adjourn?
No.
For executive session?
Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor, I will make a motion to go into executive session with the governing board, city administrator, and city attorneys.
It's like 5 minutes.
Okay, to get out at 6:32.
I'll second.
All right, motion to adjourn to executive session.
Randy, should get a justification as-
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We'll go ahead and go to executive session until 6:32.
Yeah.
Can they-
It's been a while since I had an executive session.
Does